पूरे वर्ल्ड की नज़र was on the Indian elections and उसके results, why is the world so keen on India?
That is a very correct question because the year 2024 was the election year. There were 64 countries who will be undergoing elections in this particular year. Prior to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Taiwan had their elections. After India, United States will be having their elections, and there are many more countries who will be undergoing this process of elections and electing their heads of states, right? Now, being the largest democracy in the world, right, and being a country whose election commission conducts a 7-phase general elections, and elections are somewhere they are very central to Indian democracy. हर 5 साल में लोकसभा के चुनाव होते हैं और हर साल कोई ना कोई स्टेट के विधानसभा के चुनाव होते हैं. So this process of elections is very central to India. Now eventually or naturally India will be always under either scrutiny or it will always be at center of this particular things. And also because post 2014 PM Modi has always been discussed, talked or been under scrutiny either for negative or for positive reasons in many foreign media houses and channels. We also need to understand that this particular election was very different for India. One thing is, Election Commission of India has done a marvelous job in ensuring that every voter is included in this process. We have instances wherein Election Commission is going to the most remote areas of the country. It is going to the most inaccessible parts of the country to ensure that each and every citizen is part of this particular process. So naturally, all eyes were on India for this particular reason. Second thing, India is a rising power, right? There are many scholars who argue that India is a rising power and we have an important say in global politics. We have an important say in the norms that are being created in global politics. So what happens in India, what unfolds in India will be consequential at many levels. So for these set of reasons, these elections were, they were monitored heavily by foreign media houses. Before going to how they were reported, I think we should acknowledge that many foreign media houses had acknowledged the role Election Commission has taken in this particular election, right? A 7-phase election is not a very easy task, and if you see the number of voters that are in India, it is equivalent to population of many countries out there. Now, when we are talking about other side of the reporting or how they see elections, I think we can say that after the results, a common factor in all of this reporting or coverage was that the BJP was not able to get a landslide victory, and for the first time after 10 years we have a coalition government. And there was a lot of focus on opposition parties have increased their number of seats in Lok Sabha. I think this is just the nature of our vibrant democracy, because the understanding of democracy is very different in India than other countries.
How is it different?
Because democracy for us is not only about it is not only a political process. It is not only about electing a government. It is also a social belief. It is also a belief system for us. It is also a way of life for us. So at different levels we have different understandings of democracy. And when we are talking about foreign policy, we can see these ideas resonating in that avenue as well. Right? When we are talking about United Nations Security Council, India is the biggest advocate of reforms in UNSC. We demand fairer representation, we demand more inclusiveness in UNSC. That resonates with idea of democracy. In Indo-Pacific, we are talking about a rule-based order, wherein there are a set of norms and no country should violate these set of norms. Because these norms and rules and regulations in Indo-Pacific is important for trade and economic security of many nations.
Let's talk about the NDA government. This is the third term of the NDA government. How do you see the Indian diplomacy from 2014 till 2023? Do you feel India's diplomacy has kind of shifted, transformed under the NDA government?
We can put it in a way that there are many continuity and changes in our external behavior. There continuity in terms of, when we are talking about global south, when we are saying that India wants to become the voice of global south, when we are talking about principles like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or one earth, one world, one family, these are certain concepts or these are certain principles that have been present in our external behavior since our independence. When we are talking about Nehru's foreign policy. An important event during Nehru's foreign policy was the Bandung Conference in 1955, which talked about Afro-Asian unity. And somewhere that was the beginning of non-aligned movement. And we can see that a similar underlying principle is also visible. It has been visible throughout all the governments, right? Second thing, when we are talking about balancing between two conflicting parties, just a small example like Russia-Ukraine war or the situation in West Asia, right? So India has declared that we won't be taking any one particular side. Instead, we are advocating for peace, we are advocating for prosperity. We are also behaving in such a way that we are keeping our interests at forefront and also ensuring that there is de-escalation of tensions and there is no harm or there is no damage to civilians and other population. Now this sort of behavior, it resonates with concepts of strategic autonomy. It resonates with concept that India will not interfere in your internal matters. So even this is somewhere an underlying principle in our external behavior. At the same time, there have been significant changes as well. One of it obviously is what has been our playbook towards Pakistan, because I guess for the first time we are having a government which has said that we won't be engaging with Pakistan until we talk about the issue of cross-border terrorism. And there are multiple other changes as well. For example, when we are talking about the role of civilizational concepts in our external behavior, the backing of civilizational claims, right? When we are saying that Bharat is a Vishwa Guru, somewhere we can see that there is a strong civilizational backing to our concepts. There is a strong civilizational backing to our ideologies. These are some important changes that we are seeing in our foreign policy. In fact, another way to look at it is there are certain principles, there are certain concepts which have always been present, but after 2014 we can say that these principles have been taken to a much larger level, right? Because when we are talking about global south, I think for the first time on a platform like G20, all 127 countries of global south were consulted. India had discussed what are the most important priorities, and accordingly we had also engaged with the G20 countries. During chairmanship of India, African Union became member of, was given a seat at the platform of G20. So somewhere there are certain underlying principles which have been upheld as well as they have been taken to a much larger level in past 10 years.
Thank you so much, Vasu. Thank you so much for such an insightful and brilliant session. And you wonderful people, for more such interesting videos, stay tuned to Midday.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.